Order, order in the Grand Assembly. High Counselor Vex Terra's pronouncements resonated across the crystalline cupola of the Galactic Council's central location. The seven-limbed entity, her violet epidermis shimmering with patterns denoting self-regard, surveyed the gathered delegates. We shall now deliberate on Earth's entreaty for complete council integration. I adjusted my position within the observation capsule, appreciative that my role as Envoy Krill Nova afforded me an unobstructed perspective of the events. My sensory appendage quivered with expectancy. After 3 centuries of observing these Terrans, I sensed this assembly would deviate from the norm. The Terran contingent occupied their assigned area, appearing unusually serene. Commerce Minister Bryn Calloway, their principal envoy, was, in fact, displaying a smile. Who exhibits mirth during a council determination? These Terrans, evidently. The council has meticulously examined Earth's submission, Vexar proceeded, her primary limbs gesticulating emphatically. We have determined their society to be deficient. A soft sound moved throughout the assembly hall. I observed several of my fellow envoys exchanging meaningful looks. The council's verdict had been predictable, truly. Terrans were excessively erratic, excessively groundbreaking, too perilous. Would the esteemed council deign to expound upon their conclusions? Commerce Minister Calloway's inquiry resonated clearly, still accompanied by that disconcerting smile. The casual demeanor caused Vex Terra's epidermal pattern to deepen in hue. Willingly, the High Counselor practically cooed. Earth's technological progression surpasses acceptable thresholds. Your kind achieved faster-than-light propulsion mere decades subsequent to attaining spacefaring capability. This velocity is unsettling. Unsettling? Calloway arched an eyebrow. I propose the term you seek is remarkable. Several audible intakes of breath echoed through the assembly. My own appendages coiled in astonishment. No one addressed the High Counselor in such a manner. Moreover, Vexar continued, demonstrably irritated, your species manifests alarming degrees of adaptability and martial capacity. The Council cannot countenance the admission of a conceivably destabilizing element into our assembly. I observed Council member Zix Farah, recognized for her balanced perspectives, shifting uneasily. Conceivably, we should contemplate, she initiated. The resolution is conclusive, Vextara interrupted. Earth's application is denied. Furthermore, the Council hereby constrains Earth's expansion to their existing colonial territories. Any endeavor to institute new colonies or mercantile outposts will be construed as an act of belligerence. The assembly erupted in astonished discourse. This exceeded mere denial. It bordered on a containment directive. I concentrated my focus on the Terran contingent, anticipating indignation, remonstration, perhaps even bellicose statements. Instead, Commerce Minister Calloway emitted a laugh. She actually vocalized amusement. High Counselor, Calloway stated, rising smoothly, we express gratitude for this illuminating discourse. Earth values your forthright evaluation. She paused, that smile widening. We hereby rescind all diplomatic representation from Council jurisdiction, effective forthwith. You what? Vexar's epidermal patterns congealed in bewilderment. Oh, and one additional matter, Calloway appended, already advancing toward the egress with her retinue. You might wish to scrutinize your mercantile algorithms. I harbor a premonition they are poised to become exceedingly intriguing. As the Terran contingent departed, I discerned something that induced a chill through my neural structure. They were not ambulating like spurned supplicants. They were ambulating like individuals who had just secured victory in a contest no one else was cognizant they were engaged in. Vex Terra recuperated swiftly, her epidermis pulsating with dominance. Let the official record indicate that Earth has elected seclusion. They shall comprehend the ramifications of contravening Council pronouncements. Yet, as I observed Council member Zix Farah discreetly examining market projections on her data console, I pondered who would be accruing what enlightenment. The Terran rejoinder had been excessively calculated, excessively assured. In 3 centuries of diplomatic surveillance, I had acquired one pivotal understanding regarding Terrans. They were perpetually, invariably formulating stratagems. And judging by Commerce Minister Callaway's smile, this stratagem had been in gestation long preceding this day's rejection. I activated my secluded recorder, vocalizing softly, "Memorandum. Advise immediate examination of all Terran mercantile paradigms for the antecedent 5 cycles. A presentiment suggests we have overlooked something conspicuous, and cognizing Terrans, by the time we ascertain it, it will be considerably belated." The council session continued, advancing to subsequent matters, but I could not dispel the sentiment that we had just observed the inaugural maneuver in a contest whose regulations we did not grasp. Terrans possessed a maxim regarding hubris preceding a downfall. I harbored a premonition the council was about to comprehend precisely what that signified. The ensuing 10 cycles substantiated my gravest apprehensions. As an envoy tasked with overseeing Terran endeavors, I observed the components coalesce with burgeoning trepidation. Yet, endeavoring to elucidate it to the council, that was akin to instructing a zillion mollusk in quantum mechanics. Envoy Krill Nova, your anxieties are acknowledged, but scarcely substantiated. High Counselor Vexar repudiated my most recent dispatch with a gesture of her tertiary limb. The Terrans are merely engaging in theatrics. Their withdrawal from council jurisdiction constitutes nothing beyond a petulant display. I projected my most recent discoveries onto the Council Assembly's primary display. With deference, High Counselor, scrutinize these mercantile paradigms. In the preceding 3 cycles alone, Terran corporations have nullified 90% of their agreements with council domains. Yet here resides the intriguing element. They are not ceasing commerce, they are redirecting it. Council member Zix Farah inclined forward, her crystalline oculars concentrating on the data currents. Through the peripheral domain systems, yet those systems are scarcely developed. Were scarcely developed, I amended. Something transmuted approximately 2 cycles prior. Abruptly, these ostensibly rudimentary domains possess cutting-edge spaceports, standardized mercantile conventions, and this... The display transitioned to exhibit a colossal space station encircling a formerly unremarkable planet in the peripheral rim. Its configuration was dissimilar to anything in recognized space. All streamlined contours and streamlined aesthetics, and it was gargantuan. "When did they construct this?" Vexar inquired, her epidermal pattern manifesting the initial indications of authentic apprehension. "That constitutes the crux," I stated. "According to our intelligence apparatus, this station progressed from nascent construction to complete functionality in under 60 days. The assembly erupted in derisive guffaws. "Unfeasible!" exclaimed one of the junior counselors. "Such an edifice would necessitate a minimum of 3 cycles to finalize." "Unless," Zixa interjected, her tone reflective, "unless they had been surreptitiously preparing the constituents, stashing them in ostensibly innocuous freight receptacles across multiple systems, awaiting the opportune juncture. Like rejection from the council," I concluded. The mirth subsided expeditiously. "There exists more," I continued. "Recall Commerce Minister Callaway's commentary regarding our mercantile algorithms? Scrutinize these market projections." The display burgeoned with intricate economic schematics. Most council members' oculars glazed over, yet Zix Farah imprecated softly. "They have engendered a parallel economy. All those eons of scrutinizing our mercantile systems, they were not assimilating to integrate with them," I stated. "They were assimilating to contend with them. And now they are proffering superior rates, expedited conveyance, and diminished constraints to any domain amenable to commerce outside council administration." Vexar's epidermis had assumed a disconcerting shade of profound purple. "This is intolerable. We must demonstrate to them the repercussions of such insubordination. I advocate for immediate impositions." "Already effectuated," a novel voice interjected. Junior Envoy Rex Wendell hastened into the assembly, appearing discomposed. "The Terrans? They are deriding our impositions, literally." Their official rejoinder comprised a video recording of their Commerce Ministry personnel engaging in what they denominate a festivity, commemorating with something designated champagne. They are treating it as a jocular diversion. I accessed the video feed, and indeed, there stood Bryn Calloway, elevating a glass with her cohort, that identical cognizant smile adorning her countenance. "To the Council," she toasted, "gratitude for furnishing us with precisely what we desired." What they desired? Vexar's vocalizations had ascended several octaves. "This is preposterous. No species desires seclusion. Unless," I stated deliberately, the comprehension impacting me, "unless seclusion from us constituted precisely what they necessitated to construct something novel, something superior." The assembly descended into silence as an additional report flashed across the display. Additional mercantile outposts materializing across the peripheral rim, additional domains appending exclusive arrangements with Terran corporations, and, most disconcertingly of all, a consistent influx of our own citizenry soliciting travel authorizations to Terran jurisdiction. "They are not isolating themselves," Zixfera murmured. "They are isolating us." I observed the council members at last commencing to apprehend the magnitude of what was transpiring. We had spurned humanity from our meticulously regulated, tradition-bound society, and in retort they had merely gestured indifferently, smiled, and constructed their own. "High Counselor," I stated, my appendages coiling with resignation, "I surmise we may have disastrously misconstrued the circumstances. The Terrans did not aspire to integrate with our dominion, they sought authorization to inaugurate their own." As if to accentuate my pronouncement, another alert flashed across the display. 3 additional peripheral rim domains had just proclaimed their intent to formally affiliate with what they were denominating the Terran Cooperative. The council assembly erupted into pandemonium, yet somewhere in the recesses of my consciousness, I could still perceive Bryn Calloway's mirth. And for the inaugural instance in my diplomatic vocation, I comprehended precisely what the Terrans signified by the locution, "Who's deriding now?" Recording date, Cycle 47. Subsequent to council rejection. Envoy status report. Priority level, Crimson. Submitted by Envoy Krill Nova. The Terrans possess a maxim: triumph constitutes the optimal retribution. Initially, I conceived it to be merely another of their idiosyncratic expressions. Presently, I comprehend. They were issuing us a monition. We were excessively conceited to heed it. The Terran Cooperative Mercantile Network proliferated more rapidly than a quantum cascade phenomenon. Within a mere 10 cycles, they had instituted over 300 mercantile outposts across the peripheral rim. Yet it was not merely the celerity that induced our apprehension, it was the efficacy. Consider the Nexus Hub at Proxima Centauri. When Commerce Minister Calloway unveiled it, even our most adept economists could not conceive the throughput statistics. The station processed more freight in a diurnal period than our most substantial ports managed in a lunar cycle. How? They had entirely redesigned the concept of interstellar commerce. Scrutinize this, I elucidated to the emergency council session, exhibiting footage of the hub's operations. They have eradicated 90% of conventional docking protocols. Vessels arrive, automated systems manage the freight transference, and they depart. No administrative documentation, no inducements, no protraction. Where are the customs inspectors? High Counselor Vexar sputtered. The authentication functionaries, the authorization committees? That constitutes the salient point, Council Member Zixfera stated placidly. They are absent. The Terrans constructed a system predicated on what merchants genuinely necessitate, not what bureaucrats desire. And that constituted merely the inception. The colonies that had aligned with the cooperative underwent transmutations that defied elucidation. Consider New Haven, a beleaguered mining outpost in the Kina sector. Under council dominion, they scarcely generated sufficient ore to subsist. 6 months subsequent to integrating with the cooperative, they metamorphosed into the most substantial exporter of rare earth elements in 3 sectors. It's their technology, I reported, endeavoring to suppress the astonishment from my vocalizations. They are not merely engaging in commerce, they are disseminating innovations. The display exhibited scenes from New Haven's recently inaugurated Tech Exchange Center. Terran engineers collaborated alongside indigenous specialists, instructing them in the utilization of something they designated nano-mining drones. diminutive, efficacious mechanisms capable of extracting ore with minimal ecological repercussions. The Council's mining conglomerates were still employing colossal excavators that annihilated entire mountain ranges. "This must cease," Vexar proclaimed. "They are disrupting millennia of established mercantile conventions." "That constitutes not the most egregious element," Junior Envoy Rax Wendell interjected, hastening in with updated data. "They have just unveiled their most recent endeavor, something designated the Liberation Protocol." The assembly display illuminated with specifications that induced my appendages to coil in disbelief. The Terrans had devised a methodology to rupture our monopoly on faster-than-light communication, not merely rupture it, shatter it entirely. "It's a network of quantum entanglement relays," Zixa elucidated, her vocalizations imbued with grudging esteem. "Any domain can affiliate. The sole prerequisites, unconstrained mercantile policies, and equitable labor practices. They are constructing an entirely novel communication infrastructure," I appended. "One we do not govern, one we cannot oversee, one we cannot deactivate." The Council Assembly erupted in incensed vociferations and demands for intervention. Yet through it all, I discerned Zix F scrutinizing the economic projections with an anomalous expression. "Envoy Krill Nova," she beckoned me aside subsequent to the session. "Have you discerned something peculiar regarding their expansion paradigm?" I had. The cooperative was not merely proliferating arbitrarily. Each novel accretion fortified their network in specific modalities. Manufacturing domains interconnected to resource planets, linked by efficacious mercantile conduits, all sustained by their revolutionary technology. They are not merely constructing a mercantile network, I realized. They are constructing a dominion. Yet not analogous to ours, Zixa concurred. They are constructing something far more perilous, a dominion where everyone benefits. The substantiation arrived 3 days later when the Aryan Federation, one of our most venerable member states, proclaimed they were exploring economic prospects with the cooperative. The same day, Terran vessels delivered their novel quantum communication relays to 6 additional peripheral rim domains. In my secluded quarters that evening, I scrutinized the most recent reports. Innovation hubs burgeoning across cooperative space, joint research ventures generating technologies we had deemed unfeasible, mercantile conduits becoming more efficacious by the day. The Terrans had transmuted our rejection into the bedrock of something unprecedented. They were not merely triumphing, they were rewriting the regulations of galactic civilization. And they were executing it with that identical infuriating smile Commerce Minister Calloway had donned when she departed the Council Assembly. My communication console chimed. Speaking of the subject, it was a public broadcast from Calloway herself, heralding the cooperative's most recent initiative, complementary technology dissemination for any domain that satisfied their fundamental humanitarian benchmarks. "After all," she stated, gazing directly into the camera with that cognizant smile, "a surging tide elevates all vessels, even those that endeavored to submerge us." I appended a personal notation to my official report. The Council endeavored to constrain humanity's potential because we apprehended it would destabilize our meticulously ordered galaxy. In doing so, we may have achieved precisely what we sought to forestall, yet not in any manner we could have envisioned. They are not destabilizing the galaxy through conflict or subjugation. They are executing it by simply being superior to us. And the most terrifying element? They are merely commencing. Emergency Council broadcast. Security level maximum. Recorded by Envoy Krill Nova. The Grand Council Assembly, formerly an emblem of galactic order, presently resembles what Terrans denominate a circus. Not that I impute blame to my fellow delegates. It is arduous to uphold decorum when your entire economic structure is disintegrating around you. 472,000. High Counselor Vexar's voice fractured as she recited the most recent statistics. 472,000 proficient laborers have relocated to cooperative jurisdiction in the antecedent lunar cycle alone. Technically, I appended because someone was obligated to, that figure does not encompass the entire Zari Engineering Corps who proclaimed their relocation this morning. The assembly's crystalline walls resonated with Vexar's ululation of exasperation. The Zenari, too? Yet they constructed half our sophisticated computing networks. And now they will construct superior ones for the Terrans, Council member Zixa observed acerbically, along with our most exceptional quantum physicists, terraforming adepts, and artificial intelligence investigators. The display monitors surrounding us narrated the chronicle in brutal particularity. Entire sectors of council jurisdiction were experiencing economic retrenchments. The Proxima Mercantile Conduit, formerly our most bustling commercial thoroughfare, now lay virtually desolate. Meanwhile, the Terran-controlled conveyance lanes blazed with perpetual traffic. Conceivably, proposed Junior Envoy Rex Wendell, we could endeavor to impose sanctions on their novel confederates, demonstrate to them the ramifications of contravening council authority. The mirth that ensued was not the entertained kind. Several council members had already essayed that methodology. The outcomes? Well, the Aryan Federation, I reported, retrieving the pertinent data, responded to our sanctions by appending an exclusive mining contract with the cooperative. They are presently reporting a 300% surge in production and a 400% escalation in laborer contentment. Laborer contentment is not a valid economic metric, Vexar protested. The Terrans appear to deem it so, Zixfera rejoined, along with equitable remuneration, secure working conditions, and something they denominate profit sharing. Quite revolutionary notions. Apparently. An additional alert flashed across our monitors. The Centon Manufacturing Guild, the mainstay of council martial production, had just proclaimed restructuring deliberations with cooperative representatives. No. Vexar's epidermal patterns were cycling through hues more rapidly than a malfunctioning holographic display. We cannot countenance this. Deploy the Armada. Impose a blockade on their mercantile conduits. Demonstrate to them the repercussions of their actions. The silence that ensued was deafening. Regarding the Armada, Admiral Pono cleared his throat nervously. We appear to be encountering some technical impediments. What species of impediments? The species where half our vessels cannot depart dock because their Zenari-designed navigation systems are no longer receiving updates, and the other half are operating on antiquated security protocols that the Terrans evidently deciphered 3 cycles prior. I observed Vexar subside into her hover chair, her epidermis fading to a pallid lavender of capitulation. Yet the impacts persisted. Novel dispatch from the peripheral rim, Rax Wendell proclaimed. The Terrans have unveiled something designated the Sanctuary Program. They are proffering immediate citizenship and relocation aid to any proficient laborers confronting political or economic persecution in council jurisdiction. They cannot execute that, someone exclaimed. It's against stipulations. Actually, Zixa consulted her data console. According to the very statutes we employ to spurn their membership, independent potencies are at liberty to establish their own immigration policies. Rather paradoxical, is it not? The diurnal economic reports scrolled past on the primary display. Council conveyance corporations declaring insolvency, mercantile houses shuttering their portals. Even the illustrious Galactic Academy of Sciences had forfeited half its faculty to Terran research establishments. Do you cognize what the Terrans denominate this? I inquired of the assembly. They denominate it cerebral hemorrhage. Rather apt considering they are siphoning from us every ingenious intellect we endeavored to maintain under our dominion. There must exist something we can execute, Vexar implored. What regarding our cultural sway, our millennia of heritage? Another alert chimed. The most recent entertainment evaluations indicated council broadcasts attaining an unprecedented nadir, while Terran media, everything from their melodies to their preposterous action motion pictures, was disseminating across the galaxy like a viral contagion. Well, I noted, examining the cultural impact reports, according to this, the most prevalent melody in council jurisdiction is presently something designated Breaking Free by a Terran musician. Rather on the proboscis, don't you concur? The council session devolved into disarray subsequent to that. Some advocated for martial intervention we could not execute. Others proposed negotiations from a position of frailty we could not conceal. A few merely reclined there, observing their potency dissipate like aqueous fluid in a desert. Later, in my secluded quarters, I received an unofficial transmission from Commerce Minister Callaway. No vocalizations, merely a video segment of Terrans commemorating something designated New Year's Eve on one of their newly instituted colonies. Thousands of entities, Terrans and extraterrestrials alike, counting down collectively, sharing potables, illuminating the firmament with pyrotechnics. I appended a concluding notation to my diurnal report. The Council endeavored to forestall humanity from transmuting the galaxy. In our hubris, we never contemplated that the galaxy might desire to be transmuted. The trepidation disseminating through our assemblies is not merely regarding forfeiting potency or lucre. It's the consternation of comprehending that we have become antiquated. And the Terrans? They are not even endeavoring to subjugate us. They are merely constructing something superior and permitting us to observe our own dominion crumble under the onus of its obsolete ideals. Priority alert. Council security breach. Location, Grand Archives. Reporting officer, Envoy Krill Nova. The day the Council forfeited its final vestige of pertinence commenced with a proclamation that rendered my sensory appendages torpid. Commerce Minister Bryn Callaway stood upon the steps of their novel headquarters, a breathtaking edifice on Terra Nova that rendered our council assembly appear like a primordial cavern dwelling. Today, she proclaimed to an audience of over 50 species, the Terran Cooperative metamorphoses into the United Systems Alliance. Our apertures are unsealed to all who espouse our vision of advancement, innovation, and autonomy. The council assembly descended into stunned silence as we observed the broadcast. Behind Callaway stood delegates from former council domains, peripheral, rim colonies, and even most staggeringly, 3 constituents of our own High Council. Traitors, Vexar ululated, her epidermis assuming an unprecedented shade of puce. Zix Farah, how could you? Our former council member smiled that infuriating Terran-esque smile. How could I not? Scrutinize what they have attained in a mere 2 cycles. The display transitioned to exhibit their most recent marvel. The deceased domain of Proxima b transmuted into a horticultural paradise through their sophisticated terraforming technology. What necessitated our most exceptional savants 50 cycles to partially attain, they had consummated in under 1. The terraforming technology alone, Zixa continued, has already re-established 12 deceased domains to habitability, and, unlike the Council, they disseminate their innovations freely with all member domains. Freely? Vexar sputtered. Nothing is gratis. Another cosmic verity you neglected to comprehend. Admiral Luna Chen advanced, her Earth fleet insignia gleaming. Some commodities are worth more when apportioned. The subsequent proclamation impacted like a quantum torpedo. The Alliance unveiled their Planetary Restoration Initiative, proffering complimentary terraforming amenities to any domain amenable to departing the Council. The queue of applicants materialized before Callaway concluded speaking. This is economic belligerence, Junior Envoy Rax Wendell protested. No, I amended, observing the festivities erupting across former council space. This is insurrection. The data streams narrated the chronicle. Alliance domains reporting unprecedented opulence, their unified research networks generating innovations diurnally, their mercantile conduits humming with activity, yet most significantly, their populace was content. Scrutinize these migration figures, I reported to what remained of the council. Even our own bureaucrats are absconding. Last Hebdomad, the entire Department of Commercial Regulations resigned. They presently operate a rudimentary mercantile outpost in Alliance space, processing more commerce in a diurnal period than they did in an annum here. Vexar slumped in her chair as another alert flashed. The Galactic Bank proclaiming its relocation to Alliance space. How? She murmured. How did they construct all this so expeditiously? Because, a voice emanated from the entrance. Envoy Sarah Chen, Earth's final diplomatic liaison with us, stood there with an almost commiserating expression. We never coveted your dominion. We aspired to demonstrate to the galaxy a superior methodology, You furnished us with the impeccable opportunity when you spurned us. She deposited a data crystal upon the central dais. Our concluding diplomatic missive. The Alliance extends an unbarred invitation to any council domain amenable to embracing alteration. No stipulations except fundamental human rights and equitable mercantile practices. You premeditated this, I realized, my appendages coiling in astonishment. All of it. Let us merely state, she winked, rejection from your council constituted the most optimal occurrence that ever transpired to Earth. Occasionally, the most prodigious triumph emanates from being informed, nay. As she pivoted to depart, I hailed after her, why apprise us presently? Because, she glanced back with that characteristic Terran smile, the contest is already concluded. You merely did not cognize you were participating. The Council Assembly, formerly the epicenter of galactic potency, now resembled a museum of antiquated notions. Outside, the inaugural festivity pyrotechnics were already illuminating the firmament above another domain affiliating with the Alliance. In my concluding report to the virtually deserted Council archives, I inscribed, the Terrans expressed gratitude to us for spurning them, not out of rancor or sarcasm, but authentic appreciation. We compelled them to construct something novel, something superior, while we clung to our archaic protocols and rigid hierarchies. They engendered a dominion predicated on collaboration, innovation, and autonomy, and the galaxy, it appears, favors their methodology to ours. Postscript. High Counselor Vexar was last observed completing an Alliance citizenship application. Even she cognizes the future and hears with those we endeavored to ostracize. How quintessentially Terran. Final emergency broadcast. Security level. Absolute. Recorder. Former envoy Krill Nova. Note. This may constitute my valedictory report, not because anything untoward has transpired, but rather there exists no council remaining to report to. It commenced with what Terrans denominate a desperate last stand, though in our circumstance it was more akin to a desperate last stumble. High Counselor Vexar, in what history will assuredly record as the most egregious miscalculation since informing Terrans they could not affiliate with our association, elected to launch what remained of the Council Armada against the Alliance's principal mercantile hub. We shall demonstrate to them the price of insubordination, she proclaimed to our virtually deserted assembly. Once we obliterate their precious mercantile conduits, the galaxy will recall why the Council reigned for 10 millennia. I endeavored to delineate several pivotal quandaries with this stratagem, like the fact that half our vessels could not initiate their propulsion systems because the Zanari engineers had absconded with their access codes, or that our residual crews possessed a median age of 300 cycles because all the youthful functionaries had affiliated with the Alliance Space Force. Yet Vexar would not heed. She never did. That's how we became embroiled in this predicament in the inaugural instance. The Council's potent armada of 37 partially operational vessels disengaged from hyperspace proximate to the new Terra hub. Admiral Luna Chen's rejoinder? She extended an invitation to them to dock. Your vessels appear to necessitate maintenance, she stated over an unbarred channel. We would be gratified to assist. Our mend facilities are accessible to all craft, irrespective of political alignment. Would you desire to arrange a service appointment? The transmission rendered Vexar so discombobulated, her epidermal pattern commenced exhibiting advertisement missives from her most recent mercantile excursion. This is an onslaught, she ululated. Deploy armaments. Commence firing. That's when we discerned them, emerging from what our sensors had disregarded as background radiation. Thousands of vessels. Not warships, civilian craft. Mercantile vessels, passenger liners, freight haulers, all Alliance affiliates, all forming a Pacific blockade surrounding our armada. Fun fact, Commerce Minister Calloway's voice emanated over the communications. While you were preoccupied constructing dreadnoughts, we were constructing affiliations. Would you desire to cognize how many of your former Confederates are represented in this fleet? The figures materialized on our monitors. 7,000 vessels from over 300 domains, encompassing, I noted with amusement, 6 opulent yachts registered to council members who had already defected. This constitutes your final opportunity, Admiral Chen proclaimed. Deactivate your armaments and accept our proposition of aid. Or what? Vexar demanded. You will obliterate us? The mirth that ensued from thousands of vessels and millions of entities will haunt what remains of my diplomatic vocation eternally. Obliterate you? Bryn Calloway's countenance appeared on our primary monitor. Oh, honey, no. We are going to assist you whether you desire it or not. That's when they unveiled their final card, the veritable rationale they permitted us to advance this far. From the hub's central station, a colossal energy pulse swept across space. Our armament systems did not merely deactivate, they metamorphosed. Congratulations, Calloway proclaimed jovially. You have just received a complimentary upgrade to Alliance Standard Safety Protocols. Your armaments are now permanently configured for defensive operations exclusively. Consider it our benefaction to Galactic Concord. You cannot do this. Vexar's epidermis had transmuted entirely transparent, a sign of ultimate distress in our species. We are the Council. We have reigned for 10 millennia. And now you have been upgraded, Chen retorted. Your vessels are safer, your crews are shielded, and you are no longer a menace to anyone, encompassing yourselves. You are welcome. The concluding affront? They dispatched repair teams to rectify our vessel's life support systems gratuitously. After all, Calloway noted, we believe everyone merits inhaling pristine air, even those who endeavored to asphyxiate advancement. As our armada dangled there, entirely at their clemency, I received a secluded missive from Envoy Sarah Chen. Recall how you pondered whether we premeditated all this? The verity is we premeditated something far superior. We premeditated making premeditation superfluous. Welcome to the epic of collaboration. The insurrection concluded not with a detonation, but with complimentary maintenance service and an invitation to affiliate with the subsequent Alliance Mercantile Conference. Back in the Council Assembly, observing Vexar endeavor to process our utter defeat through acts of benevolence, I at last comprehended humanity's most potent armament. It was not their technology, their innovation, or even their martial prowess. It was their absolute renunciation to be the malefactors we desired them to be. They could have crushed us. Instead, they rectified our vessels. They could have humiliated us. Instead, they extended an invitation to us to affiliate with them. They could have exacted retribution. Instead, they dispatched us gratitude missives for galvanizing them to construct something superior. My final official maneuver as envoy was to submit the Council's unconditional capitulation. The Alliance's rejoinder? They spurned it. Capitulation connotes defeat, Calloway elucidated. We prefer to denominate this an upgrade in administrative paradigm. Now, who desires to assimilate regarding participatory democracy? Perusing the former council members assiduously appending their signatures to Alliance citizenship applications, I appended one final notation to my records. The Terrans possessed a maxim: existing optimally constitutes the optimal retribution. Yet they substantiated something even more profound. Assisting your adversaries in existing more optimally constitutes the most magnificent triumph of all. The Council endeavored to constrain humanity's potential. Instead, we furnished them with the impeccable opportunity to substantiate why that was never feasible in the inaugural instance. End report. This is former Envoy Krill Nova appending my signature for my inaugural Alliance mercantile authorization. I apprehend there's lucrative revenue in irony exports these days.